Welcome to the Co-Parenting Conversations podcast, brought to you by the Center for Divorce Education. With renowned psychologist Dr. Donald Gordon, we will delve into the complex world of co-parenting during and after divorce and separation. Join us as we explore some of the emotional, legal, and practical aspects of parental breakups, helping you navigate this transformative journey with wisdom and guidance. Whether you're currently going through a divorce, contemplating separation, or supporting a loved one in their journey, the Center for Divorce Education is here to empower you with knowledge and offer you a roadmap towards a brighter future. The information presented in this podcast is intended for educational purposes only. The presentation of this material is not intended to constitute mental health therapy or to diagnose mental health disorders. The presentation of this material is not intended to constitute legal advice. Participants are encouraged to discuss specific legal questions with a licensed attorney of their choice.
Welcome to episode 6 of the Co-Parenting Conversations podcast by the Center for Divorce Education. We provide online parenting classes for divorcing and separating parents. I'm Jamie, and today I'm here again with my colleague Chelsea, and we'll be discussing a comment we received from a parent who took our program. We'll also bring on Dr. Don a little later so he can give his professional response on the subject. So let's get to it. Today's topic is in regards to grandparents and children. The parent feedback we got was asking for more information about grandparents taking care of children. So I will assume that this person probably is a grandparent posing the question. Maybe they have custody of the children instead of the parents. Not sure, but we will touch on a few different situations with grandparents being involved. Let's start with you, Chelsea. What are your thoughts on grandparents taking care of their grandchildren?
Grandparents are supplemental. They're there to help. I think that grandparents can have an important role with grandchildren by giving them extra love. And sometimes grandparents do end up with custody of their grandchildren because the parents may have substance abuse issues or drug abuse issues. And so sometimes it may be the best option for the children to be in the custody of their grandparents.
I mean, sometimes that can be better than CPS getting involved or foster homes. You never know in certain situations like drug or alcohol abuse. And the grandparents can be the best option for the children. They're much more likely to keep the parents involved also, usually, I would think, than foster homes or CPS getting involved. They also have a lot of experience with life generally that can help shape a child's future. And they do tend to be much calmer than regular parents. You know, they've had all that experience already, and they're much more likely, I think, to teach children, especially young children, to cook or bake or do gardening, you know, things that most parents maybe don't have the time to do or aren't as experienced with. Obviously, there are other circumstances as well with grandparents being involved that we'll touch on briefly, like grandparents who live in the home with parents and grandchildren, or grandparents who play a very active role in their grandkids' lives. What advice would you give in those situations?
Well, let's say that the grandparents are living with the children and the grandchildren. Maybe they are part of the everyday household and decisions being made. Our Parenting Wisely courses actually touch on this a bit and how to handle multifamily situations. In this case, it's best to have the parents and grandparents on the same page with rules and expectations for the children.
Agreed. Grandparents that are really close to their children or grandchildren need to remember that they are, you know, there to be a good role model and help the children grow into healthy adults, show the children love, obviously. And parents and grandparents should have frequent conversations, in my opinion, about what the expectations for those children are so that they can help teach the children the same principles too.
Right. These issues with children should be handled between the parents and grandparents and not in front of the children. Yeah. But grandparents can be role models for these kids and help shape them for the future.
Now let's go ahead and bring on the expert and see what he has to say. Dr. Don, what is your professional opinion on grandparents and their grandchildren?
Well, I'm really interested in this topic since I'm a grandparent, and I think it's a really important role. The most important role grandparents play is paying attention to their grandchildren, getting involved with what they're doing, and especially listening to them when they speak. So using the skill of active listening where they can reflect back what they heard the child say This is especially useful when the parents are really busy or are single parents and the other parent's not very involved with the kids. Then the children need more support because of that. The grandparents provide childcare and transportation, and that helps relieve the stress that parents are feeling and allows them to recharge so they can spend better quality time with their own children. So because they're getting a break. Grandparents can also support positive parenting practices by the parents by withholding criticism of what they're doing, but being supportive and praising good parenting practices. Grandparents can recognize good parenting practices, for instance, through our Parenting Wisely online program, which shows the best parenting skills that helps children's adjustment. Children find a lot of support from the grandparents when their parents are stressed or unavailable to them because they're getting attention from somebody that they love. Grandparents also can offer mature thinking that will help their less experienced adult children and stressed adult children solve problems better because the grandparents have more experience and are older and have more mature thinking. So it's an opportunity for grandparents to correct mistakes that they themselves made by raising their children. For example, a lot of grandparents would use yelling or hitting to control the kids when they were misbehaving. But then later on, as they get older, they realize that wasn't the best approach.
Right.
So now they can encourage their own children to avoid yelling or hitting and do things like sitting down with a family meeting and having group problem solving and talking through solutions instead of reacting emotionally and yelling at the kids. When parents are ignoring the kids because they're busy or they're stressed, they can model spending time with them and listening to the children, and the parents can watch the grandparents using less stress methods of interacting with the children.
Well, once again, we appreciate you all for tuning in, and thank you, Dr. Don, for your feedback. See you next time.